What up, bitches? It's a misanthropic one, aka He Who Hungers, and I'm back up in this bitch for another rant. I've talked about, this whole SJW shit in comic books and how they're infiltrating every fucking aspect of pop culture, or everything that's fun in life. I should just put it like that. And I did a video about how SJWs and comics don't fucking mix. You could look that up in my archive, or I'll try and post it down there if I remember. But some of y'all may not have heard of this this movement or this controversy known as Comicsgate, and this is exactly that. I don't know any of y'all that follow comic books, that follow me. Y'all know that I'm a big Marvel Comics mark. I love Marvel Comics. Older Marvel Comics, I should say. I don't like what they've become now. I love the movies still. The movies, I think, are the last hope that Marvel has, to me personally. And yeah, this whole Comicsgate thing is crazy. It's you got a bunch of channels on here, like one of my favorites, Diversity in Comics. He's been making a lot of noise lately. Shout out to him. Shout out to Ethan Van Sciver, who has a channel called Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and I'll link both of them down there. But I want to show you how far this has gotten. Jim Jefferies is a comedian, and he's on Comedy Central. And this Comicsgate thing has gotten so far that Diversity in Comics, real name Richard Meyer, was brought on the show. And wow, they did quite a hit piece on him and try to make him look like a fucking racist. And I'm gonna do a reactionary video to it and sort of explain to you some of the bullshit that's been going on with this shit, and why comics have been sucking, amongst other things in life. Okay, so let me move this shit over here. Okay, and this is what happened with Diversity in Comics on Jim Jefferies' show.
The biggest geek news story of 2018 so far is the blockbuster success of Black Panther. It was a worldwide phenomenon. Plus, thousands of African American kids packed movie theaters to finally see a superhero who looks like them. Now, Marvel and DC are putting diverse characters in the spotlight, and even tweaking old favourites. So I headed to San Diego Comic-Con to soak up the inclusive vibes.
So, that's one problem right there that he mentions himself, that that they're tweaking old favorites. That's a problem in itself. There's a whole wave of this shit. Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, Hawkeye. They're doing it for the sake of doing it. What he's gonna try and paint here, and some of y'all should already see this, is that people have a problem with diversity, and that's not the case. No one has a problem with diversity. People have a problem with forced diversity. Okay, and I'll explain that more. Let's continue this shit.
But I soon learned that for some, the good old days of comics are fading away. So, comic book guy?
I am. Used to be.
Why do you say used to be?
Well, I stopped reading it over the diversity issue.
Yeah, overall, they've been changing comic characters a little too much. There's a comic book tradition, in a way, how each character should look.
I think when they start making Superman gay and, Aquaman transgender, it's like, I don't go around and parade what I am, don't go around and parade what you are.
Ah, for f***'s sake.
Yeah. And shout out to The Quartering, aka Unsleeved Media, great fucking channel. I saw his video on this, and he pointed out a good point right there. See, what Jim Jefferies is trying to do is frame this as the what do you call it? I guess you would say cis white male, you know, as they're the ones pushing the problem. Okay, when I've been to Comic-Con, I've done videos where I've been to Comic-Con, and Comic-Con is probably one of the most diverse gatherings there are. So I'm sure he talked to, maybe this guy saw Asian and black people there, and some of them probably said the same shit, but you can see, you're gonna see mad edits in this. So it's not just white people that feel this way. This is fucking stupid.
Yes, there's an actual backlash against diversity in comic books. And the movement is led by a super villain. He runs a YouTube channel broadcast from his secret lair / bedroom closet.
Today's video is going to be about Captain Marvel and how I hate her.
But he's never shown his face on camera.
Plot twist. The boyish lesbian showrunner decided to reboot She-Ra as a boyish lesbian.
Who is this evil mastermind whining and complaining from the shadows? Yep, that checks out. Me, Richard Meyer. What are your thoughts on the current state of comics?
Comics are kind of weirdly dying politics, specifically identity politics being shoved into everything. A character that used to look like a 1980s Dallas Cowboy cheerleader basically looks like me now.
We, of course, are rocking those A cups. Anything above the B cup, you hate women.
Yes. And I love how, first of all, there's diversity in comics. You've seen his face somewhere on the internet before. Like, you could look it up, and he's shown his face, but he doesn't show his face in his videos too much, very rarely. In fact, I remember the one review where he dropped his camera and you saw his face or whatever. But he concentrates mostly on reviewing the book, which I like. You know, he's showing you what he deems as flaws, why these comic books are failing. That's why he doesn't really show his face, and I understand that. But I just want you to note how this guy is trying to paint him as the bad guy, because he goes, "Oh, this is being led by a super villain." You know, they try to hide it under the guise of humor. I mean, this whole thing, he's gonna try to make him look real fucking bad. And I watched this, and it really pisses me off, because if you watch his channel, he's not a racist, he's not a homophobe, he's not a bigot. He's pointing out flaws, he's pointing out things within the industry that these people do. Like, for example, this whole She-Ra shit. He's pointing out how they're taking a character who is known for being feminine, who's a female, powerful hero. Now you're changing her because of identity politics. Oh, we have a boyish lesbian that now is changing She-Ra into a boyish lesbian for what? You know, it doesn't make any sense, and it's bullshit. So that's his point.
Marvel was introduced as a Pakistani-American Muslim, Riri Williams, who replaced Iron Man. If you don't like her, it's because you're racist or sexist, but probably.
It would upset a racist.
I think it would.
And for mine, anyone who supports these changes is just a SJW, social justice warrior.
Black is your shield, and woman is your sword.
I don't know, fucking swords and shields.
Which is true. A lot of what these SJW creators do is, if you don't support their trash product, they're gonna label you a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and it's fucking retarded. So what they're doing is they're already hiding behind something and pushing a narrative. For example, what's that story? Oh. Hang on, my shit's going off here. Black Panther and the Crew, which was a book written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, which bombed. It got canceled after, I think, its first issue or something like that. It bombed. Why? Because he thought, well, I'm just gonna take these characters that are already established and turn it essentially into a Black Lives Matter book. And nobody wants to read that shit. People are trying to escape real life shit when they read comics, when they watch sports, when they play video games. When you're pushing this shit onto them and forcing it down their throat, people are gonna naturally say, hey, listen, I don't want no parts of it. That don't make them a racist or a xenophobe or anything like that. Maybe, and let me tell you something, there are some people into comic books that do believe in that shit in real life, but maybe they've been running their gums about it all day, and maybe they want a little bit of escapism. Why is that bad? You know, this is supposed to be something where people could get away and not deal with the everyday bullshit.
All sounds so childish. It was time to bring some adults into the conversation. I assembled an elite team of proud social justice warriors. Loki, Harley Quinn, Green Lantern, Seducer, Doug. Fantasy roleplay from the King of Queens, Ocean.
Dude, this guy is not funny, dude. He used to be funny, but just a sidebar. This is another thing that, you know, Hollywood is going into the super social justice route, and this kind of goes in line with this whole comic book thing. When this becomes your forefront, everything else lacks. Comedy lacks. You're supposed to mix things up. Like, this guy is so unfunny right now. It's not even funny how unfunny he is. I seen some of his old material, which was funny. This shit, and I'm not just saying it because I disagree with the guy either. Just not funny. I mean, you see this with Sarah Silverman, Chelsea Handler, what's the other guy? Patton Oswalt. They're not fucking funny. Nothing they say is funny. It's just this weird, angry, you have to agree with me or you're this.
Richard Meyer, he believes that diversity is ruining the comic book industry.
That's false.
Yeah, that's false.
He's not been reading comics.
Why do you think some people can be so possessive of comic book characters?
I think once you make a connection with a character that you like a lot, it creates this sense of ownership.
If you see yourself in the character, it boosts your confidence. You don't feel like you're so alone in the world.
Which I sort of agree with. They do have somewhat of a point there, you know. However, like I said, once you make it about identity, gender, politics, and that is at the forefront, your story sucks. Your story sucks, period. Because, well, I'll get into more because this guy brings up a perfect example.
There's been a reduction of breasts. You know about this controversy?
We don't want to always see ourselves overly objectified just to satisfy someone's weird fantasy.
Okay, but what about, like, if He-Man had a dad bod?
So?
I have the power over the temperature in this house.
Oh, God damn it. The whole breast shit. Again, back like he said in the beginning, you know, someone that looks like a 1980s Dallas Cowboy cheerleader now looks like me. Yeah. The reason why you're into these books is to see fantasy, things that aren't always there. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I want to see Rogue. You know, Rogue is a Southern belle with the big tits. She's part of a fantasy, granted, and she's, again, diverse. Female, has weaknesses. Her mutant power is actually one of her greatest weaknesses, because you can't physically touch somebody without, you know, damaging them or absorbing their abilities, you know what I mean? Or memories and stuff. So she wants to love someone like Gambit, but she has to wear gloves all the time. She can't, you know, be intimate in a sense, you know what I mean? But that's what makes her so great, so mystifying, you know what I mean? A lot of these SJW characters don't have any type of adversity coming towards them. They're just perfect. They're black or transgendered and just accept it. They're going up fighting characters that the original characters, that they originally fought, like they'll knock them out with one punch. They always need to be emotionally validated. You're perfect. You're this and that. Nah, come on. And yeah, as far as the breast issue goes, when you're taking characters that had big breasts and all of a sudden you're turning them to A cups and this and that, it's like, you know, you're making them look lesbianic without creating your own new character that looks like that. People are gonna call that.
Do you think that politics can sometimes get in the way? Why can't we just have like a fun story about a superhero?
I think the thing with comics is they've always followed the trends of the political landscape. Take Superman. His whole thing is that he's an alien on a completely different planet and has adopted the country America as his home and is trying to fit in. That is the whole ethos.
Yes. What he says, he has a point, and I've said this before in older videos. Yes, comic books have always had like a social origin, or they do pick up from life, because art imitates life. However, like I keep saying, when that becomes the forefront and there's no story to go with it, because it's supposed to be a story, you're selling your story short. For example, X-Men, one of the most diverse groups, very popular, was mimicking the civil rights movement, how blacks were going through racism at the time, how they were different. And you could use that as a metaphor for homosexuals, the LGBT or whatever. You can use that as a metaphor, yes, but they have a story that follows it, that carries it. So that message is so subtle. That's the beauty of it. So even if you, let's say, are ignorant to certain things, you may be able to relate to it through the story, and then maybe it could spark something in your head. Maybe I have been looking at this the wrong way. Maybe I do have an ignorant view of stuff. When you take it and you're pushing that to the forefront and there's no story there, it's an agenda, and you're shoving it down people's throats. People do not like that. And another thing, you know, with that being said, me being a black comic book fan, I don't like my race being paraded around as some type of prize, which is what a lot of these pros do, especially at Marvel. So, like I mentioned before, Black Panther and the crew, I don't want to be a prize that, oh look, see, look, it's a black superhero, and black issues, so you should like it, and if you don't, you're a racist. And the reason why they say shit like that, racist, xenophobe, all that bullshit, is because they want to hit you with the lowest thing possible. They want to mark you with that when you're giving actual critiques, you know? And it shows in the sales. Marvel's sales suck dick.
I might be Superman. My SJWs are making good points, but I like finding common ground. Maybe we need some characters with traits that appeal to both sides. I brought a few ideas. Okay, the Batman, but he's Latino and he only protects gated communities. Fat Zimmerman. Okay. Okay, so how do you feel about
Bat Zimmerman. I'm gonna leave that alone.
Black Superman? Okay, a slightly less black Superman.
Yeah, no, that's actually better.
Black?
Yeah, see? That was a horrible fucking edit. A horrible fucking edit. And again, shout out to Diversity in Comics. I don't want to speak for you, but you know, you made a video addressing that, 2 videos actually. One addressing the actual experience that you had with what you were saying and what you were asked, and then the other one to Heather Antos. In the Heather Antos video, he was saying, you know, you have to talk with a lot of hand signals and stuff like that, because you'll be able to see where things were edited and how the answers don't match, and just the body language and everything, which is true. You look at that, try to make him look like a racist, saying that, you know, oh, black Superman. And then he just shrugged. Then a light-skinned Superman. Then he was already, oh, he goes, yeah, that's actually, his arms were already up. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking stupid. You know? And for the record, there has been a black Superman. Steel. John Henry Irons. You know? So it has to make sense. People accepted Steel because it went with the story. John Henry Irons was a guy that, you know, was already somewhat in the universe and was inspired by Superman when he died. So in tribute to Superman, he became a Superman. That's when the 4 Supermen came, when Superman was killed. He was one of the 4. So it's fucking stupid. You could tell that none of these motherfuckers know anything about comics, because comic books were always diverse. You had black superheroes, Asian superheroes, handicapped superheroes, gay characters. They've already existed. God damn it. Hold on.
Panthers villain Killmonger, but now is played by a woman, and the way that she attacks the Black Panther is by calling the cops while he's trying to barbecue.
The reference is, for those that don't know, that racist bitch Barbecue Betty. That's what he's referring to. That you know, Barbecue Betty would call the cops on Black Panther if he was fucking barbecue. It's just a fucking bad joke.
He's found one. He's found one. Alright, that might fix the characters. But Meyer and his crew aren't just fighting what's in comic books, they're also attacking women and people of colour who make comic books.
That's so bullshit. That is so bullshit, man. If you watch his channel, which I have for a while now, because he was a small channel last year, but he blew up. He's going after, here, I'm gonna let him say it himself. And I want you to see fucking edits.
Train people for the BuzzFeed. Look, we hired this overweight black woman. Isn't that exciting?
You have said this.
Yes. That's what they do. that he exposed that with a lot of these Marvel pros, where these people will be hired based off surface traits, because you have a thing called comic book DB, where a lot of these people either have relatively little to no work. They're given issue number ones. They're given seminal characters to go do whatever the fuck you want with these characters. Why? Because they're black, lesbian, non-white, gay, transgender, and they're just giving them these books. And again, what that leads to is they're just gonna write stories about transgenderism and being gay. Meanwhile, the character itself, who in some cases over the years, decades of them being built up, having specific personalities, that shit is all thrown out the window. That's what people have a problem with. Forced fucking diversity. No one has a problem with a gay character. Nobody does. As long as it's organic, as long as it makes sense. For example, Bobby Drake, Iceman, they made him gay. For what reason? This guy's been around since the 60s, been a womanizer, always getting with women, and all of a sudden they made him gay, and it just doesn't even make sense. He turned into a sociopath. Even gay people were upset with this. So, all right.
Some women sleeping their way to get into these positions.
So I did one video. It's a common thing for my enemies to bring up.
Literally sucked her way into the comic industry. It is a dumpster.
You called a woman a dumpster?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Even if you don't believe that you're a racist or homophobic or sexist, isn't a fear of yours that you are attracting some people who are?
I don't really think about stuff like that much.
Right. Seems like you might want to start thinking about it, Richard.
Yeah, that was edited. That was fucking edited as shit. Let me see, wait, let me go back. I want to comment on something.
Yeah.
That's not good.
They're hiring people for. So I did one video. It's a common thing
Yeah.
that enemies bring up.
That video that he's talking about is called the Dark Roast, and it was something that he openly says, yeah, you know what, some of my followers said that it was a bad idea to do, so you know what, I disavowed it. It is just, I'm not following that anymore. I went off. It was somewhat experimental, and that's the one fucking thing that they can always go back to, and it really holds no weight. It really holds no weight. And it was something that was a private video. It's not super public. Hold on.
Literally sucked her way into.
I'm a dumpster.
Yeah.
You don't believe that you're a racist
Look at this bullshit
or
edit.
homophobic or sexist. Isn't a fear of yours that you are attracting some people who are?
I don't really think about stuff like that much.
Right. Seems like you might want to start thinking about it, Richard. Other people are. What do you think of Richard Meyer?
He's a garbage person.
He's a guy. You can say on this show.
Yeah.
Look, clearly Richard's upset. He can no longer pick up any comic book and instantly relate to the characters he sees. And that's a real feeling. Because it's how women and minority groups have felt their entire lives. Wake the f*** up, Richard. The characters you don't like aren't written for you.
Uh-huh.
You know what? I think I like this better how we started.
Look at this bad edit. See? Mm-hmm. Okay. let me get out of this shit. It's fucking ridiculous. That's a common thing for SJWs to say, specifically comic pros. Well, this wasn't written for you. This wasn't written for you. Hey, look, by that logic, like the dude said that was dressed as Green Lantern, who said, yeah, a lot of these comics were based off of social issues. Who are you marketing it towards? For example, we'll say X-Men. Like I said, that was a metaphor for racial tension at the time. Blacks were being hosed down in the streets and treated unfairly. Who did you want to sort of influence at the time, to sort of understand your plight, what you were going through? Other people who didn't look like you. You know what I mean? The same thing with if you're going to use Black Panther as a social figure, then yeah, you want other people to buy the book and say, oh shit, this is a character that I actually like, and he's black. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's black should not be the main focal point, and that's what's killing comics right now. Let me give you an example. Diversity in Comics said that the comic book industry used to be based off of merit, and that's what I believe that everything should be based off of. I mean, look at what Martin Luther King said. Judge me on the content of my character, not the color of my skin, meaning merit. That's what I find so funny about these SJWs. They don't go by that. No, ignore that. Just go by my surface traits, or what surface traits I'm trying to sell you. I just gotta laugh at that, because again, this is why I always say in my videos, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, people like that were real social justice warriors. This shit today is bullshit. Just a bunch of petulant children. But like I was gonna say, it used to be based on merit, which is true. I'll give you a perfect example. You have a guy by the name of Todd McFarlane, which some of you might have heard of, okay? He busted his ass in Marvel, DC. He has a very distinct artist style, drawing style, excuse me, which I like to describe as how he sort of makes things cartoonish but lifelike at the same time. So you like he knows how to draw distinct like features that you might say, oh, that's cartoonish, but you could see someone in real life and say, oh shit, that's who he based that shit off of, you know? So in the 90s, he went and helped start Image Comics, and he had a character named Spawn who dominated the fucking 90s. Let me tell you something. The reason why people love Spawn so much, off of the back of Todd McFarlane, people knew his work. People knew his drawing style. Very distinct, like Jim Lee and other guys, you know, but very distinct. People picked up the story. It was a great story. Very fucking mysterious. Who the fuck is this guy? This is Todd McFarlane's work. Oh, I'm gonna pick this shit up. I love this fucking dude. Guess what? Spawn was black. Never once did Todd McFarlane come out and say, well, he's a black superhero. He's a black superhero, and end it there. No. Spawn dominated the 90s. You had McFarlane Toys. You had Spawn, the book itself. You had a Spawn movie. Even though I really didn't like it, I think it should have been fucking darker. Even though I like Michael Jai White, but I didn't really like that movie. He is, Todd McFarlane is doing a new Spawn movie, by the way, a reboot. But that's the point, that Todd McFarlane came, wrote a character that was fucking amazing, that people from all races loved. Everybody loved this guy. So that's the end of the video. I've been rambling on long enough. I always ramble. Damn, this is going on fucking over half an hour. Fuck me. But I'm gonna link up Diversity in Comics channel, Ethan Van Sciver's channel, and they both have Indiegogos, which is what a lot of these Marvel guys are pissed off at, because this is another win. This is another thing that they can't stand. Diversity in Comics, Richard Meyer, was challenged last year because in his life he's done small books here and there, but it didn't really gain much momentum. You could find some of them, I think, on Amazon. I think they're out of print anyway. But he was challenged by some of these pros. Oh yeah, put your shit on the shelf and then we'll talk. So he's had a script written for a book that he called Jawbreakers. He put that shit up on Indiegogo. I forget what his initial monetary amount was. I think it was like $10,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. I forget. But he ended up making over $300,000 and soaring past all these other motherfuckers, these SJW dudes who have put out shit. And that pisses them off. I'm not even going to go into that whole controversy because I'll be here for another 30 minutes. But they're trying to like blackball him and block him, but he's changing the game along with Ethan Van Sciver. I wish them both luck. I'm gonna post up their shit down there. I definitely ordered Jawbreakers and what's the second one that Diversity in Comics has? Iron Sights. I ordered that one as well. I gotta order Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog. That one made, I think, over half of yeah, over 500,000, over half a mil. So that just goes to show you that people are tired of that shit. People are tired of identity politics and all that bullshit, especially being pushed in comics. So that's all I gotta say. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know this was a long one. I'm sorry. And yes, that's what she said, if that makes any sense. But okay, that's it. Everybody else, y'all know the deal. Leave your love, leave your hate. Most of all, subscribe, support these guys, and that's it. Peace, bitches.